Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Ruach HaKodesh. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is The Lord is Coming to Do a Great Sifting. And pretty much this is based off of a title that popped in my head this morning. And at first I wasn't going to write it down. But then I said, I was like, nah, I better write it down because, that's the spirit, And it's been I can't tell you how long it's been since a title just popped in my head, in the morning when I get up. And, hey, sometimes you get nervous, but this is all, all part of the walk in this truth. And pretty much, this lesson is going to be centered mostly around, because I think I was kind of meditating on Jake being scattered, around the world, and then that title popped in my head. And it's heavy because, this ties into prophecy and everything that we see going on today, and it's like all simultaneously happening. The prophecies of the microchip being the MOTB, World War III, time of Jacob's trouble, and all these different things happening. And at the same time, the nation of Israel being sifted from these different parts of the world. And see, this was part of the curse, which what these devils try to do, they try to go to certain of the curses and say, well, this don't mean that, what you're saying, this means something else. Because they know, them, especially them small hat devils, they know that they don't fulfill any of these scriptures here. And this is why they have to make up, persecutions and harassments. People don't fuck with them. Nobody fucks with them. They just have to make it seem that way because they have to keep that inflated budget going. Because how else are they going to steal funds from people? But by lying to them. These devils are the deceiver, forgers of lies. So we're going to get into this. And this is why they hate Deuteronomy 28 so much and other precepts. Because it totally destroys and demolishes their whole standpoint, their whole viewpoint, Those are those so-called strongholds that the Lord is causing to be chopped down by the word and by his prophets. So Deuteronomy 28:64 says, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone." And back in the days, that was dealing with, the different idols that Jake worshipped. But today, all of those, that wood and stone is encapsulated in these churches, in the mosques, in the house of consciousness, all of these different places where Jake is worshiping foreign gods other than the Most High, Yahweh. And when you look up this word scattered, I'm not sure how many times it appears in the scriptures, because you have scatter, scattered, scattering. And I know that it has to appear a whole lot of times. The word powatazah, to scatter, be dispersed, be scattered. And the Greek equivalent of that, the coined Greek equivalent of that, is diaspora or diaspora, which is the same thing, which is the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel being scattered abroad. All right, just the word scatter itself appears 68 times in 66 verses. But remember, you have scattering, you have scattered, and many other ones. To dash to pieces, like when you have a vessel, a potter's, like a potter's vessel. It's one vessel, you throw it to the ground, it breaks. And if you want to put it back together, you find all the pieces, many different pieces, and then you glue it back together. So that's what's happening right now. The Lord broke us, scattered us to the four winds, and now he's bringing us back together. And the worshiping of these idols is pretty much what did us in. That was like the main thing. It was many other things, but that was like the main thing. That's why in 1 Corinthians 12:2 it says, you know that you were Gentiles, carried away into these dumb idols, even as you were led. You were Gentiles because you were being called Gentiles or heathen by the Israelites in Israel that knew that they were Israelites. And they looked at you as strange, as foreign. They didn't recognize you. And why? Because you were carried away into these dumb idols. That's how you were being called Gentiles, even as you were led. Because the ways of the nations, they enticed Jacob. That's why the Lord said, when you go to take their land, don't do after their manners. Because if you do after their manners, you got to remember you're going in there to take over their land because of the filth that they're doing. And, because it was prophecy, the curse that Noah put upon Canaan, Ham's son, but they were being kicked out of that land for all of the foul things that they were doing. So the Lord said, be careful not to do those same acts that these people are doing, because for those acts, they got kicked out. And you will also get kicked out. And this is exactly what happened. This is what led us on the path of heathendom. Salakia. For my corny jokes. So let's go from there. Let's go to the book of Daniel. And all of these curses followed us whithersoever we go. These are generational things. And it's not going to be, the Lord didn't say in every captivity that you go to, every one of these curses is going to follow you, and they will be upon you. And it's funny because those same curses that they say don't apply to us, don't apply to them. But when you look at the whole scheme of things and the way that we live and the situations that we're faced with, all of those things fit us in one way or another. They don't fit them unless they forge it to fit them. They have to manipulate it to fit them. So this is Daniel 9:7. It says, O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces. Why? Because we, as a nation, defied the Lord, and what happened was he scattered us, and we became confused. This is why, during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes, we bring that up a lot, because that was a great time when Jake fell away from keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, even so much as falling away from being Israelites, and this where the confusion of faces came in. We were mingled in among the nations, we adapted and assimilated to their customs. Therefore we were pretty much foreign. You're foreign to the Most High, right? It says, as at this day, to the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and unto all Israel, dealing with all of the Israel, all 12 tribes that are near and that are far off. And this is something else that was spoken of in the book of Ephesians, the 2nd chapter. And you that are far off. This is only said about the Israelites. And why were they far off? Because they were cut off from their heritage, from the citizenry of Israel, and that citizenry of Israel only belongs to the Israelites. That's why you have something called the ministry of reconciliation, or the gospel of reconciliation. The gospel of reconciliation doesn't apply to all nations. It only applies to the nation of Israel, that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven them, because of their trespass that they have trespassed against me. And what was that? The breaking of the laws, the statutes, the commandments. All right, we're going to come back to that. I wanted to save this for later, but it keeps popping up in my head. So let's go to it. Hosea chapter 8, verse 8, it says, Israel is swallowed up, meaning we were destroyed. You know, as a nation, it says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And you don't see any nation out there as destroyed as the nation of Israel, beginning with Judah all the way down to Issachar. You know, some are more distraught than others, but nevertheless, we as a people are totally destroyed because we're not following behind our power. You know, well, we are because the Lord woke us up, but on the grand scheme of things, the majority of Jake is not seeking to the Lord. Even though the Lord is busting them up, tearing them up, they're not seeking to the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. They're seeking the sweet Jesus. And when they pray and whenever they give glory and honor to God and to Jesus and all that, they're thinking about white people. They're thinking about giving glory and praise and honor to a so-called white person. You know, because still in their mind, that image is etched in their mind, you know, going back to slavery, going back to the Renaissance period. You know, and this image has been pushed heavy, you know, upon the four corners of the earth. Shalom to you, the young elder Yaikwab, Shalom, and Yahweh Shem Shai Brakatham to, you know, if any apostles are watching, bishops are watching, elders, you know, and Shalom to the believing sisters. So it says Israel is swallowed up. Matter of fact, let's look up this word swallowed up. The word there is balai. That sounds familiar. To swallow down, swallow up, engulf, eat up, right? And how did this happen? Through these different philosophies, which back then were in the form of idols. Because those idols it wasn't just an idol that you made and carved out. You know, there were different rituals and customs and rites and different things that you had to do, you know, for it. You know, so that's the same thing today. When you go to these different churches, there's a different mannerism and different ways that you dress and different things that you do, you know, sacrificing of your time. That was the same thing they did with those different, you know, gods, you know, fake, false gods. All right, to swallow down. So you get the point. So basically, Jake is destroyed for lack of knowledge. It says, now shall they be among the Gentiles. So you got to, every time you read through the scriptures, it keeps saying among the Gentiles, because Israel was scattered among the Gentiles. They were dispersed as a vessel wherein is no pleasure. And a vessel is a thing made by the potter. And we were created as vessels of righteousness. We were created as vessels of royalty. But we've been reduced to vessels of peasantry. The reason being is because the Lord pretty much programmed us that way, you know? So we would be among these nations as a vessel wherein there's no pleasure, you know? And people, you know, all you got to do is see Jake, the color of their skin, or, you know, somebody that looks like a so-called Mexican or so-called Hispanic, Latino, you know, Indian, Gadite or anything like that, and they quickly have a disdain. You can see the disdain in their face. They don't have to say anything. It's evident, you know. So we are as a vessel of no pleasure among these nations, and the Most High was looking at us at one time the same way. I don't know who the hell is that. I don't recognize that. What the hell is that? Those are not my people. I didn't, you know, that's not how I left them, you know? So we were unrecognizable to the Lord until Yahweh Shai came on the scene 2,000 years ago. Now we have a fighting chance. And that's a lesson right there for somebody. Now we have a fighting chance. So, let's read this again. Israel is swallowed up now. Shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure? Oh, let's go to Nehemiah chapter 1. You know what? I'll save this for after. Let me finish up here in Daniel 9. So we have trespassed against the Lord. O Lord, to us belongs confusion of face, to our kings, to our princes, and to our fathers. because we have sinned against thee, right? And as a whole, all of the kings of Judah, all of the kings of Israel have gone into captivity, because of the great sinning. You got to remember, we're not called kings and, and princes and princesses, and these different royal titles that Jake had back then. Great, high priests, great orators, great chief priests and all that. We don't call ourselves that today, as a whole, but we're coming back to it. So all of those great positions that Jake held back then, they lost, so we all went into captivity. It says, to the Lord our power belong mercies and forgivenesses, though we have rebelled against him. Yeah, because he gave us a commandment or commandments to do, and we didn't follow through. So we rebelled against him. It says, neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our power to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants, the prophets. See? Yea, all Israel had transgressed thy law, even by departing. And that's why we were scattered through the four corners of the earth, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us. And these small hats are trying to, these small hats and these so-called apologetics or whatever, apologists or whatever the hell they're called, they're trying to say that, well, all of these curses in Deuteronomy 28 don't fit you guys. What about this? What about you? Which one of those curses fits you? Show me you having yokes of iron upon your necks. Show me you being, not being the poorest people. Show me you being the destitute ones. Show me you being the ones that's praying at night that you make it to the next day, and that you make it to the following day, or that you make it to the morning, or that you make it to that evening. Show me where you're at uneasy among these different nations. Show me where the nations the nations are lending to you and you're not lending to them. You own everything. You own the fucking world. You own the Diamond District. Your peoples own the Federal Reserve. You have the world by the balls through this the USD, the United States dollar. Show me where you fit any of those curses. Let's go one better. Okay, we can't prove that those curses fall upon us. All those curses fall upon us. Show us where one of those curses fall upon you. Show us where you fit any of those curses. Come on, give me one. You fucking devils. So it says, yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law. I'm trying to, keep it low because it's still a little early. But, hey, when the spirit is turned up, there's not a damn thing that you can do about it. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us. When you pour something on someone, it's all over them. Like when people win, different, when they win different tournaments or whatever the hell them things are called, when the World Series and the Super Bowl and all of that. And what do? They pour water on them. They pour Gatorade on them. They pour champagne on them. They're drenched in it. So we're pickled in the curses as a nation. This is why Jake lives the way they live, in the hood, in the barrios, in the ghettos. Shanty towns, favelas, whatever you want to call them, all around the world. Squalor, whatever you want to call it. Jake is everywhere in that condition. Why? And now, does that fit every so-called? Does that fit every Israelite? No. You have exceptions to the rules. You have sellouts. You have those that that are Sambos, that have licked Esau's shit to get to where they are and at the top. So you're gonna have some that are well-to-do, some Jakes that are well-to-do, because you even had well-to-do Jakes back then. Joseph of Arimathea and others. The high priest in them, they were filthy rich. So not every Israelite was destitute. But the fact that we all went into captivity, the Lord brought us all down. And even today, as low as we are, you still have those exceptions to the rules that made it, that so-called made it. Yeah, right? Like the elder said, let me see. Elder said, show us where you are racially profiled every day. You come out the house, followed around, even store, etc. That's right. Show us that. Show us that, E. So the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses is not Deuteronomy 28 in the law of Moses, the servant of the Most High, because we have sinned against him. All right. Show us one, Dr. Quas Brown, show us one curse that fits you. From the 15th verse all the way down to the 68th verse. Show us one of those curses that fits you. These devils are too much, man. And he hath what? Confirmed his words. And how was the confirmation? By the words that are played out upon us and the curses that we go through. Let me show you that. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 28. And we're going to just go straight to the point. Verse 10. It says, for precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. This is how we break the scriptures down. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. Yes, and that's true. We are speaking different languages, but at the same time, the Lord said we will speak the language of Canaan. Isaiah 42:22 destroys Dr. Brown's delusion. Let's go to it, and we'll come back. The elder put it up. Let's go to it. The elder has spoken. Hey, shalom, elder. Yahweh Brakatah. Isaiah 42:22. But this is the people, right? Robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes. What are the holes? That's these different churches. And they are all hid in prison houses. The same thing, these different churches. It's not just talking about the actual prisons. Even though you do have a lot of Jakes or Israelites in prison, but this is really dealing with those harlot houses that are like prisons because they hold Jake's souls captive. It says they are for a prey and none delivereth, for a spoil and none saith restore. Right, because the Lord is going to bring the restoration. But wait a minute, in 1948, didn't they so-called go back to their land? So if they went back to their land, that means that they don't have to be restored. So how does this fit you? Huh? Goddamn devil worshippers. So going back to Isaiah 28:12, now to whom he said, this is the rest. What is the rest? The scriptures, the comforter, wherewith you may cause the weary to rest, right? Because when you're weary, you're looking for what? Somewhere to rest, somewhere to relax your mind, let your conscience be free, right? And you're looking for what? For some shade. You're looking for solutions. You're looking for, a reprieve. You're looking for, a place where you can sit down and just relax and gather yourself together. Well, what's that? That's these scriptures. This is the refreshing. This is the rest wherewith you may cause the weary to rest. And this is the refreshing, yet they will not hear. Right, because here it is. Jake is getting pummeled every day by the Lord. Yeah, that's right. EPMD, that's right. Yet they would not hear. And they're getting pummeled and jacked up, but they don't seek to the Most High and consider, damn, it's the Lord doing this to us. We're getting jacked up by the Lord. Let's look for the Lord. Let's seek the Lord. Let's find out, because obviously we're doing something wrong. They don't seek to the power. They don't seek to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Who do they seek to? They seek to sweet Jesus. This is how you know who Israel is. But the word of the Lord, listen good, but the word, which is contained in these scriptures, the curses, but the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept. You shall go into Egypt by way of ships. You shall have a yoke upon your neck. You shall be a byword. These curses shall follow you no matter where you go. You shall go to him for the want of all things. You know, cursed shall you be in the city, cursed shall you be in the field. Among these nations shalt thou find no ease. You shall be scattered among all these different nations, and there you shall serve other gods, even wood and stone. You know, all these diseases shall come upon you. I will smite you with the botch of Egypt. You know, all of those curses. You know, you shall be only vexed. You know, you shall walk as blind men. These precepts are upon our people even to this very day. It says precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. So everywhere you go, here a little and there a little. Doesn't mean that every single curse is gonna come upon you in every single captivity you go to. It's here a little and there a little. You went under the Babylonian Empire. What happened? They took your lands. They brought you down. They took the nobles. In these times, we didn't have nobles. We didn't have, you know, the kings and all of that. But they were here, but they were just not being crowned. They never were crowned as kings, but their spirit in the reincarnation goes back to some of those kings and some of those nobles that were sitting on thrones and all of that. You see? So in every captivity, you know, we went through these different things, but not every single curse would fall upon Jake in every single captivity, because what happened during the Medo-Persian Empire? They weren't putting yokes of iron upon our necks. They weren't treating us as harsh as the Babylonians. They weren't stealing our lands because they gave decrees to allow Jake to go back and build Jerusalem. So how is every curse in the Deuteronomy 28th chapter from the 15th verse down, how did every curse come upon the nation of Israel during the time of the Medo-Persian Empire? It didn't. You know? They didn't lay siege against us. The curses say they would lay siege against you. The Medo-Persians did not lay siege against us. You see? So come on, dog. Don't call it a comeback. Here a little and there a little. So like I got the musical demon on me, I guess. That they might go and fall backward. Let's see if the brother know where that one came from. That they might go, just joking. That they might go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken by what? By the word of the Lord. That was upon them, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little, that they might go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken. That's how we suffered these curses. And he hath confirmed his words, you know, which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. See? And that great evil really started, I mean, we went into captivity under different nations. LL Cool J, that's right. Mama said, knock you out. I'm going to knock you out. It says, bringing upon us a great evil, for under the whole heaven have not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem. That's right. So no other nation suffered like we suffered. Our suffering has been legendary. And it's true. And no other nation has gone through what we go through. You see something? By claiming these curses have already passed, it allows them to keep up Christianity's false preachers. Yeah, it's all about keeping white supremacy alive. You know? That's what this Renaissance Christianity is all about. It's all about white supremacy. As long as they're in charge and we be good little servants, they don't have a problem with it. But as long as we, you know, are starting to wake up and come to our own through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and finding out who we really are, that is a threat. They don't want a thinking Jake. They want a subservient, non-thinking, you know, robot. It says crime. Rats, roaches, drugs, gangs, fightings, poverty-stricken neighborhoods, ghettos. Who does this fit? Dr. Quas Brown. It doesn't fit them. It does not fit them. And this is heavy because I got a precept, Lord's will, if we get a chance to go to it. It's going to go hand in hand with this that the elder posted. Luke 21:24, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, meaning until they completely fulfill everything. And then once the kingdoms of the world, which right now the last ruler is in power, once they come to that end point, the Lord has already pointed the bounds that they cannot pass. Then Yahushua is going to come back and claim the kingdom back for the raza. All right, one day homeboy's going to come back and restore, I forget how it's worded in the movie, inside joke. So Daniel 9:13, it says, as it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil is come upon us. See? And man, all of this evil has come upon us, even to this very day. The brother posted some of the, he posted like a small amount of things that fall upon Jake. Beginning with Judah, so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, so-called Native American Indians, and all the tribes. You see Gad, Jake in the ghettos, as bad as the ghettos are, as bad as fucked up it is, this is for the raza. As bad as the ghettos are, the ghettos aren't as bad as the the reservations where Gad is at. Gad is catching motherfucking hell out there. Jake is catching hell, Judah's catching hell, but Gad is catching hell. So all this evil has come upon us, yet may we not our prayer to the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. And they're praying the sweet Jesus. Oh, sweet Jesus, please, no, But they're not seeking to the Lord. And the thing is that the availability is there. The knowledge is there. But it's blocked from them. So even to this day, which they can't get it, they don't turn to the Lord. You know what? I've been praying to sweet Jesus for the last 400 some odd years. Let me try something new. And pray to the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. But they're not going to do that. It says that we might turn from our iniquities and understand thy truth, right? Because that is a part of the beginning of healing. It's converting, believing, and the Lord will heal us, pretty much. Therefore have the Lord watched upon the evil and brought it upon us. Because in the same precept that the elder put up earlier, in Isaiah 42 and 23, now, who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. Therefore hath he poured upon them the fury of his anger. In what? In the form of these curses. And the strength of battle, because the curses were a way of the Lord making war against us. And it hath set him on fire round about. And man, ain't nobody on fire, with these curses like Jake is out here in these streets. Beginning with Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim, Simeon, and that all the way down to Issachar. They ain't on fire like that. It says, yet he knew not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart, right? Because yet still in all, they're not seeking to the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. They're still seeking the sweet mother floating Jesus. Isaiah chapter 8. Let's go down to the 21st verse. And they shall, 19. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto the wizards that peep. Pretty much that's what they're doing when they worshiping, the white meat, the other white meat. It says, and that mutter, should not a people, meaning you Israelites, seek unto their God, their power, for the living to the dead? Yeah. So that's who you should be searching or seeking for or making your plea before. The Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, but you won't do it. So let's go back because it's blocked from you. So Daniel 9:14, therefore had the Lord watched upon the evil and brought it upon us. It says, Salaki for 1 minute. Right. Therefore have the Lord watched upon the evil and brought it upon us. For the Lord our power is righteous in all his works which he doeth. Right, because the Lord is righteous in everything that he does. For we obeyed not his voice. And there was a bigger reason for it. And now, O Lord our power, that has brought thy people forth out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and have gotten thee renowned. This is when the Most High's name was made famous. As at this day we have sinned, we have done wickedly. Now, when you look up this word renowned, it goes back to the word shum, which means name. And that's when the Most High's name became famous, when he did that great miraculous deliverance from the land of Egypt, to where everybody witnessed and knew and understood that that's the Most High that did it, Yahweh. And that's the same thing he's doing right now. He's setting up the stage for, the great deliverance to magnify his name again once in the earth, because his great name is to be honored and praised. And after that, never again, will all of this stuff that we see happen. So let's scroll down the word shum. What you have here with name, reputation, fame, glory. So that's the reputation. So the renown of the Most High was made well known after the deliverance of Egypt. His name was known, but it wasn't as famous as it was after, the deliverance from Egypt. That's what made his name famous. He made his name famous that way. And you can find that in many, different scriptures. So when the scriptures say that by my name, Yahweh, was I not known unto them, it means well known or famous. The famous name at the time was Alashadja. After the deliverance of Egypt, his personal name, Yahweh, was magnified even more, but it was known among his elect. All right, because Seth called on it, Abraham called on it, Isaac and Jacob called on it, so on and so forth. And even at one time, Esau used to call on that name. So let's go from there. Let's go to the book of, we already did Hosea 8 and 8, but let's do it again. You want to do it again? Let's do it again. Hosea chapter 8, verse 8. Now the curses and being in the midst of these people and, following their ways, worshiping their gods, even wood and stone, this is what brought about, that low state that we're in. Hosea 8 and 8, Israel is swallowed up, now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure. So what's happening right now is the Lord is visiting his people and he's building them up. He's cleaning them up by his word. Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way? By giving heed, therefore, unto thy precepts. So let's go to Amos 9, and I'm going to start at the first verse. Now, some of these precepts in Amos 9 we use to apply to Esau, but it really applied to Israel at first. But, it does apply to Esau now, because everything was spiritually flipped. Inside joke, but true. Deuteronomy 30 and 7, Lamentation 4, around the 21st verse, 22nd verse. All of these things are being brought upon Esau, but it first fell upon Jacob. So Amos 9:1, I saw the Lord standing upon the altar, and he said, smite the lintel of the door, that the posts may shake, and cut them in the head, all of them, and I will slay the last of them with the sword. Right, dealing with Israel at the time. He that fleeth of them shall not flee away, and he that escapeth of them shall not be delivered. Right, because the curses fell upon every last one of us. Though they dig into hell, thence will my hand take them. In other words, when Jake would hide anywhere, the Lord was going to have them found out. Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. And this is, metaphoric for Jake, but today it's talking about, it's literal for Esau, because they're going up into them space stations, to hide. This is what the space stations and the Space Force is all about, because Esau is a great believer in his sword, the blessing that he got. This is why, their military, their weaponry, their missiles, this is what they rely upon to bark at the other nations. But now the nations are like, pretty much, they're like, man, fuck you, because the Lord is taking away that shine. Just like at one time, the animals didn't dare attack man, well, this is what the Spirit of the Lord put upon Esau, where nobody would dare attack him. But now the Lord is removing that spirit, and people are not afraid as they were at one time, because the Lord is building up, that animosity and hatred and anger towards this place, America. And America, which is Babylon the Great, is the capital of the world. It's the capital of Esau's empire. All right? And it will be demolished and destroyed. It says, and though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, that's dealing with the mountain retreats, I will search and take them out thence. And though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them. So at one point, this was dealing with Jake, but now it's dealing with Esau. Because they have their shelters. And they really believe that those shelters are going to protect them, and they will. These international banking families around the world, they will be protected, because they're going to be the first to go into captivity. But in their mind, because the scriptures say that they're not going to repent once the destruction comes, but in their mind, they think that they're going to come back in continuity of government. We've saved all these records, all of the records of the dates and all the different historical things that took place, the different archaeological finds, the different buildings and histories of America and of Europe and the old world and the new world, and everything that ever happened. We got it all saved, the papyrus, we got the records on the Bible and the Quran and all of that. They show you that a little bit at the end of the movie Book of Eli, because they think that they're going to have a continuity of government after everything is disrupted. That's why I said they will not repent of their murders and sorceries and idolatries and all of that, because they're thinking that's going to be business as usual once they come out of there, because in their mind they still have the riches of the world, but they don't understand that they're going to go from that position there in those different shelters that there are, whether it's underwater, whether it's under the earth, whether it's in caves, whether it's in space, and they're going to go right into captivity. It says, and though they hide themselves, okay, I already read that. And though they go into captivity before their enemies, dealing with Israel, thence will I command the sword, and it shall slay them, and I will set my hand upon them for evil and not for good. This is why the curses fell upon us. And this is talking about, this was talking about back then, but it's talking about now also, because we're bringing it up to date, because we fell from the time we were established till now. And now it wasn't really until this time that we really started to be built back up. It says, and the Lord power of hosts is he that toucheth the land, and it shall melt, and all that dwell therein shall mourn, and it shall rise up wholly like a flood, and shall be drowned as by the flood of Egypt. Right? It says, it is he that buildeth his stories in the heaven, and hath founded his troops in the earth, he that calleth for the waters of the sea, and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. The Lord Yahweh Shem Shai is his name. I was going to touch on this, but in the interest of time, I'm just going to keep going. because I still got another precept after this. Lord's will, if I get a chance to do another lesson on that. It says, and this kills Dr. Quas Brown. Are you not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? The children of the Ethiopians, we are not Hamites, you know? So what does it mean, are you not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me? Meaning we look like the Ethiopians, you know? So our people look like the Ethiopians. Not all of them, because we've all been mixed, you know, around. But you have some Jakes, if you compare some of the Ethiopians, which are Cushites, to Jake, they look similar. So that doesn't fit you small hats, Dr. Quas Brown. Clown, saith the Lord. Have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Caphtor, and the Syrians from Ker? Behold, the eyes of the Lord power are upon the sinful kingdom. At one time this was Jake, now it's talking about Esau. And America is that sinful kingdom, because although it's being run by the wicked, although, you know, it is the borders of the wicked, they have said to the world that they were established upon Christian principles. And those Christian principles they attributed to the Bible. But it's a lie. It was just a farce. Because when you look at the actions that they're promoting and the things that they're doing in comparison to what's written in the scriptures, they don't fit. So if the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. You are not the people of the Lord. You are nothing but frauds. You are thieves, inside joke. And I will destroy it from off the face of the earth. Right, and the Lord will destroy this place from off the face of the earth, just like he took Jake and removed them out of the memory of the world. And this is why now, out of all the people of the earth, and when Jake rose up and started saying that we're the people of the Lord, these nations are looking like, what, you? Nah, not you. Anybody else but you. We'll accept the Chinese, we'll accept the Hamites, we'll accept the Japanese, we'll accept the Ishmaelites, we'll accept anybody, not you. That's why I said they're going to be amazed, or they're going to be, you know, kicking themselves in the ass pretty much. Because they're going to call themselves a bunch of fools because they didn't believe that the Lord brought us down to this level and is raising us back up. It says, and I will destroy from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord. Right. Because the Lord is going to save a remnant, and that remnant is going to bring back the rest of Israel. Why? Because the promise was to Abraham and to his seed. All of the seed. Do you understand that? All of the seed. Let's go to Romans. The Lord made a promise. He don't break his word. I don't give a damn what any of you clowns out there say. Romans chapter 4. Just bear with me while I find the verse. Let me just do it this way. Right. Romans 4:16. Therefore it is of faith, that it might be by grace, to the end the promise might be sure to all the seed. Because the whole seed of the nation of Israel is going to be saved. All Israel shall be saved. But it's just that in this time only the elect will be saved. You know? Then the rest will come back later. Not to that only which is of the law, but to that also which is of the faith of Abraham, who is the father of us all, right? Because you had those that were still maintaining that they were Israelites, and you had those that had fallen away and didn't know that they were Israelites. And in this time, we all fell away from that. So going back to Amos, it says, Amos 9:9. So it's because it says that he will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, save the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. For lo, I will command and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations. And how is this sifting being done? By the word. The word is what's sifting Jake and bringing Jake from among those different nations. Right. The elder put this. Outcast. Person who has been rejected by society or a social group. Right. And we've been totally rejected. And this, man, this rings true for Israel. That's why the Lord said that we will not be reckoned among the nations. And we're not reckoned among the nations. We're not even recognized. We're not even thought of to be in the lineup at all. We weren't even bench warmers to the world. You know? We were nothing more than the water boys. We weren't the first line, the second string. We weren't even on the bench warmers in their eyes. And for the Lord to build us up, you know, to where we're at, they find it truly amazing. Jeremiah 30:17, inside joke. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds. Right, because the whole head is sick. Lazarus with all the wounds. Save the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, because they called thee an outcast, saying, This is Zion. This is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. You see? So the nations, these small hats ain't fitting that. You's a clown. You ain't just a fool. You's an old fool. Now, if you brother could tell me where that comes from, you good. You know, Salaka, the musical demon still, you know, still lingering. Them doves had flown. Amos 9:9. For lo, I will command and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations. Right, because we were among all nations. Like as corn is sifted in the sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. And we're going to get to that. But let's go real quick to Nehemiah 1:7. We have dealt very corruptly against thee, and have not kept thy commandments, nor the statutes, nor the judgments which thou commandest thy servant Moses. Right. And we just read that in the book of Daniel. Remember, I beseech you, the word that thou commandest thy servant Moses, saying, If you transgress, I will scatter you abroad among the nations. Right. And this happened. But if you turn unto me, this is why it's so important to call back on those names. And this is why Esau's hell-bent on removing those names. This is why the very first thing they did when they infiltrated, you know, One West, which they've been trying to do for years, and eventually they got to it through that devil, Tazablakia, you know, they finally got to him. And the first thing they did was what? Remove Yahushai's name. They left Yahweh's name because Yahweh's name is important. But to access that name, you have to have the key. And the key is Yahushai's name. So they removed that name, Yahushai. Then eventually they removed the name Yahweh. You know, and the same thing with Nate. Nate used to teach his congregation Yahweh and Yahushai. Kanai used to call on that name. And other members, you know, of the IUIC. At one time, even Deacon Malachi said, yeah, sometimes I call on those names, you know. But then he said they had a secret meeting, or they had a meeting, you know, to where they agreed not to use those names. Why? Why you have a meeting not to use those names when those names are part of the pillars of this truth? Why would you not want to use those names? Oh, because, you know, Jake don't really speak the Hebrew, so it's going to be impossible to... No, it ain't. You didn't know the Hebrew. You didn't know the name Yahweh and Yahushai before learning about the truth. And then you know it because you can call on those names. Why? Because somebody explained it to you. It's not that hard. Yahweh. Yah is he, Hawa to be, or he exists. Yahushai. Yah is he, Yahushai is deliverer or savior. Very easy. It's very easy. So what happened? Because those names are very important in order to get back into the good graces of the Most High. That is the key to reconciliation. Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. Invoke those names. Call on those names. Because the name of the... Oh, wow. Check that out. Brother, put it up. Proverbs 18:10, the name of the Lord is a strong tower, the righteous runneth into it and is safe. Beautiful. You know? Wow. This is another good one. Psalm 79:9, help us, O Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai of our salvation, for the glory of thy name. Right? Because it's all about the glorification of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And deliver us, because he said, I'm not doing it for your sake, I'm doing it for my sake, my holy name's sake. That's what the Lord said. And deliver us and purge away our sins for thy name's sake. Wherefore the Most High also hath highly exalted him and given him a name which is above every name. All right? Says, but if you turn, back in Nehemiah 1:9, but if you turn unto me and keep my commandments and do them, though they were of you cast out unto the uttermost parts of heaven. Why? Because we were scattered. Yet will I gather them from thence. So the sifting is going on. The word is doing the sifting. The ones that are part of the elect of the nation of Israel are being brought out from those nations by the word. They're being drawn. Yahushua said, a man cannot come to me except the Father from heaven draw him, and I will raise him up at the last days, and will bring them unto the place that I have chosen to set my name there, because the Lord is going to bring us there, not getting no passports. All right? So going back to Amos, for lo, I will command and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations like as corn is sifted in the sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. And we go to the word least grain. We had the word tazar-war, right? Bundle, parcel, pouch, bag, as packed, pebble, which is a stone, lively stones. All right? Bundle, parcel, and then you have also, so I know it's in the New Testament, I'm not sure where. Ephesians 1:4, which is the earnest of our inheritance until the redemption of the purchased possession unto the praise of his glory. So there is a purchased possession, which are the elect. They've been purchased, and now the claiming has come. All right? So the word tazar-war, which is bundle, parcel, pouch, bag as packed, pebble. All right? It's a stone, because even in the margin, not the margin, even in the Blue Letter Bible, there's a precept with a number on it, and it says stone. And the thought that came to mind was Peter's. It speaks about lively stones. So it goes back to the root word, enemy, distress, bind up, right? Because we're bound up, tie up, shut up. So we have to be redeemed. We have to be delivered. We have to be saved. All right? Right. To be scant, be cramped, be in straits. In other words, in a position of difficulty. Because these devils ain't going to stop. Yahushua said that those days be not short, and there shall no flesh be left to be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. You see? So, going back, so then not going to be, nothing is going to be left. The least grain is not going to fall upon the earth, because the seed or the promise is made sure to all the seed. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. Yes, so those that don't want this to go forward, that are fighting against it, Yahushua he gonna move you right out of the way. Then it says what? The restoration of Israel, because we fell. The Lord destroyed us. He jacked us up. But he said the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel. Why? Because of his great name's sake and the promise that he made to Abraham. Going back to the word renown, Shem, fame, the fame of the name. Because, he made a promise to Abraham. And that promise was to his seed. And the seed of the promise went from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. So Jacob, which is the seed of the promise all the way through and through, that seed right there, the promise is made to that whole seed. as the sands of the sea. All of those peepers are going to be delivered, are going to be saved. But in this time, only the elect are going to make it, and those that don't make it this round will come back to the ones that do make it. So it says, in that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, because we fell. And when you go to this word fallen, you have the word Nepal, which goes back to the word Nephilim or Napoleon. Nepal, to fall, lie, be cast down, fail. Right, because we fell from that great stature that we had. Now we're getting it back. So it goes on to say, and close up the breaches thereof, meaning that the Lord is going to remove the differences from the tribes, the animosities. Not from all of the tribes, because you still have, Judah fighting against Ephraim. You still have Issachar fighting against, Zebulun, and, so on and so forth. You still have those wars against each other's, against the tribes. That's why you have these jakes that say, well, you got these Mexicans, man. They're racist against, so-called blacks. They're always fighting against them. Yeah. Well, you have jakes in the ghetto that, Judah in the ghetto that fights against Judah. So does that mean they're not the same people? All throughout the history, when you read about the tribes, all of the tribes fought one against another. Did not the whole nation come against the tribe of Benjamin and almost wipe them out? Does that mean that one of them was a heathen and the other one was not? Does that mean they weren't the same people because they fought against each other? You ain't just a fool, you's an old fool. It says, and I will raise up his ruins, because we were ruined. You got to remember, we were destroyed, ruined, heaps. And now the Lord is restoring that old estate. The glory of the latter house shall be greater than the glory of the former house. The word ruin, it's haras. Here is harayasah. Ruin, demolished. Something demolished, right? Destructured, destroyed. All right? Let's go back. It says, and I will build it as in the days of old. And what's going on right now is the great building, the third temple, if you want to call it a third temple, because the scriptures don't speak about a third temple. It speaks about the restoration of the nation of Israel. It speaks about the first temple. It speaks about the second temple. Then it speaks about a restoration of the nation of Israel, that they may possess the remnant of Edom. Right, and the remnant of Edom represents their land. I mean, they're going to go into captivity also, but it represents the taking over of their land, because the land is going to be there after they're destroyed. And land is wealth. And it's heavy that the ones that are going to get the land are the ones that actually suffered the most under these devils. Ain't that something? All right, so let's go to Numbers chapter 24. I can't remember the verse, so just bear with me. It was something I was reading. You know what? Let me just type in. Right, 18. It says, and Edom shall be a possession, meaning their land. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies. And Israel shall do valiantly, right? Because Israel is going to take over that land, because the house of, the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them. And there shall be none left of the house of Esau. No man, no woman, no child, nothing. So what's going to happen to that land? It's going to go right to Judah. And rightly so. How's that for retribution? And how can that be a bad plan? Inside joke. Back in Amos 9 and 12, and that they may possess the remnant of Edom, and of all the heathen which are called by my name, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shaddai, doeth this. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, meaning the one that's doing the plowing and the breaking up the ground is gonna, which are the slaves, which is Jake, is gonna take the reaper. The reaper is the one that's benefiting off of all the hard labor. You know? It says, in the treader of grapes, him that soweth seed, which is the same thing, and the mountain shall drop sweet wine, right? Because the sweet wine represents what? It represents the truth. And all the hills shall melt. The hills represent the governments of these nations, and they're going to fall. And it tells you this in the book of in the Apocrypha. I had another precept, but I don't think we're going to have time to go to it. So I'm just going to go to Baruch chapter 5. And I'm just going to go straight to the point. Start at 5. Arise, O Jerusalem, stand on high and look about toward the east, and behold thy children, right? Because our home is in the east. And behold thy children gathered from the west, because we're in the western hemisphere. This is why the ministry that the world calls Hebrew Israelites, they call it different names, started where? In the west. Harlem, New York, to be specific. And from there it spread throughout the four corners of the earth. Everything else that Jake got into wasn't a problem. Jake got into Christianity, wasn't a problem. Jake got into Islam, it wasn't a problem. Jake got into Africanism, it wasn't a problem. Jake got into atheists, it wasn't a problem. Jake got into witchcraft, it wasn't a problem. Jake got into the transformation movement, it wasn't a problem. But when Jake started getting into their true nationality of being Hebrew Israelites, now it's a problem. You see? And these devils are very meticulous and specific in how and what and who they target. As long as you are following some bullshit, they already know we're going to be destitute, messed up. But when you start finding out about the truth and seeking the truth, that's a problem, because that's going to cause them grievances. Behold, thy children gather from the west and to the east by the word of the Holy One, rejoicing in the remembrance of the Most High, because they had to be back to our memory, because we lost it. It says, for they departed from thee on foot and were led away of their enemies, but the Most High bringeth them unto thee exalted, being raised up again with glory, as children of the kingdom, because the kingdom belongs to Israel. This is why the apostles asked the Lord, will thou at this time again restore the kingdom to Israel? For the Most High hath appointed that every high hill, the governments of this world, the big governments like America, Canada, Russia, China, right? And banks of long continuance, because they've continued for a long time. Some of these kingdoms have been ruling for centuries. Should be cast down. I beheld to the ancient of days sit, and the thrones were cast down, and valleys filled up. What are the valleys? We represent the valleys, the low ground. And now we're going to be built up, and everything that's high is going to be brought down, to make even the ground. Right, because the Lord is going to plant us again, that Israel may go safely in the glory of the Most High. You see? So the Lord is exalting us and bringing down these hills. So, and all the hills shall melt, back in Amos 9:13, verse 14, and I will bring again the captivity of my people, meaning he will reverse it. And they shall build the waste cities, and this is what's going to happen. Because the land of Israel is going to be totally annihilated. You know? I wish we had time to go to, to the other precept I have, but Lord's will, I could do another lesson on it. And inhabit them, see? And they shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them. And I will plant them upon their land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land which I have given them, saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, thy power. And Barakatah Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for that. So those that are telling you, get a passport, get the hell out of here, flee Babylon, they're bugged out, because this system that is being put in place is a worldwide system. There's nowhere to run to, baby, and nowhere to hide. Inside joke. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.